So this tournament report's a little bit late, and I don't have a voice in my head this time around. Basically, kind of like ran out of time in which to do this yesterday, so I just sort of ended up crashing and was just like, screw it, I'll do it tomorrow. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. A little bit of extra time actually does, on a positive note, give me a little bit of breathing space to be able to reflect on the actual performance that I put in. I put together a rather weird sort of deck. The only way I could describe it is anti-meta heroes. I mean, it was heroes it was heroes obviously. So, because I felt like I wanted to get back to that. And so I basically had stuff like I had Rabbit and Sparkman for targets. I had Voltig to get stuff back that was banished. I had a whole bunch of other stuff. Basically, if you wanted to take a look at the list, I've got it. I've got the list in the description. It's a screenshot I took from the build that's sitting on DN. It's the exact same build I used today, but whatever. And I would show it off in real life, but I've made a whole bunch of modifications and turned it into less of an anti-meta build and more of a light-based build. So I might show that off a little bit later, but see what happens. But anyways, first two rounds for yesterday's local one up against Cyber Dragons, and they sort of went down in they sort of both went down the same way. Basically, it worked like game one. I went first, established strong field presence in the case of Thunder King round one and Banisher round two, obviously with a bunch of back row. Banisher the Radiance, I mean. And then basically sort of ran over the top of them. And then in both cases, game two, we basically ended either side of time. I went into time for round two, then just managed to win just before time round one. With the aside from that, I basically sort of had just about all the answers to the round one player. I was being slightly disrupted by Burden the Mighty, and I think the why I played round one was a little bit more unique in the fact that he had a whole bunch of random stuff. Like I said, he had Burden. He also had as adhesive explosive, which I don't know why. Blast Spear is an infinitely better card, even though it's still not really that grand. And I MST'd it anyway because I mean it's in the back row, so it counts. So ended up 2-0 both of those, and the second one I basically just had all the answers and just kept grinding it out and out and out, and I managed to go into time, but didn't really need to take that many turns. Round three, I played against Hieratic Rulers. This was the same guy that I beat to win locals the other week with Constellas. Basically just established field presence, picked my Fossil Diner right off the bat. Just like I had Fossil Diner set, I was all set. He trap stunned skill drain. I was like, okay, cool. This guy's gonna run into my diner. Instead, he kind of throws me off guard by going into Gauntlet Launcher and blows up my field, and then just sort of swings at me for game. And then game two was when we went into time. I had an opportunity to go for the draw. I kept swinging with the Shining because he had nothing, and despite the fact that I was fearing Mirror Force when in retrospect I really shouldn't have, because I knew he'd already used his Torrential for the turn, for the duel. He'd already used his one Torrential, and I left him on 100 on my last turn in time, and he had nothing else in hand. He had just two set cards, which turned out to be two skill drains, and he ended up top decking Puppet Plant, so he stole my monster and attacked over me for game. So that really should have been a draw, but I like it is what it is. And then round four once again went at a time. This time I went up against Madolches. I put in a little. I put in the effort throughout the course of the match, but he basically ended up running over the top of me with stronger field presence in both games, and then eventually I withheld my charge. Once again, I got screwed. I screwed myself over. I withheld my charge until it was too late. I couldn't actually destroy his monsters and inflict damage on my last turn in time, so I had less life points by maybe like 300 or 400, but ended up losing that. And then round five, I played against Gravekeepers, and pretty much a similar story as to last week. Necro Valley just couldn't stay on the field. Whenever she would play it, I would just either have an MST ready or I would duality into an MST, because both games actually have with both my dualities. And so I did that. The only time of concern throughout the course of that match was when she had a 3700 Visionary on the field. But I ended up topping into my Rescue Rabbit, going into two Sparkmans, overlaid those into Star Liege, and then just sort of ran over the top there. And so put in the work. And I think, and I believe game 2 was pretty much a stall war. Like, obviously Necro Valley just wasn't a thing because I was able to destroy it all the time. But I was having trouble getting over her Metal Reflex Slimes. She was running 2 of them. And so I had a little bit of trouble getting over those. I managed to get the first one out of the way with a Diner, and then the second one I think I got rid of with Absolute Zero or something. I'm not 100% sure about that, but yeah, whatever. So I ended up coming 3 and 2, finished 10th. Considering this is a deck that I just sort of put together and had a few test hands of, I wasn't actually too disappointed. It actually did pretty well. To be fair, though, I probably should have at least drawn one of those 2 matches that I had. So, but those are the breaks. So, anyways, I also, on my way home, end up getting insanely lucky again with pulls. Bought a couple of premium golds, and I pulled these 2 baubles, which combined with that means I have all 3 of them. So when I rebuild my Yugi deck, all 3 of these are going in there. But until such time, I'm going to chuck them in my Legendary Collection 1 folder, which I've now basically sort of decided to have it replace my Legendary Collection 2 folder as like my trade binder I haul with me, even though like there's jack shit in the bloody binder. But yeah, those are pretty much the breaks. I think though, when I actually took a look at this for the first time, when I take a look at this for the first time, that actually doesn't look too bad. Legalized God cards just sort of like be like, yay, just sort of sit there. I think it looks pretty good. It looks pretty decent. So that's pretty much it for this local report. Next week there's actually going to be 2 locals. The first local is going to be on a Saturday, and I believe the prize is going to be a box. So I'm going to put Costellas back together and take a genuine crack at that box, because if I can, you know, I'll be pretty happy if I can get the box out of that. And then and then the following day is just a regular sort of local with where we're back to just sort of normal shtick. And I don't know, I might be playing Hieratic, I might be playing my Gladiator, I might be playing Gladiator Beasts, because I've been working on a build of that. I could even be playing my Slushy build, because I have a Slushy build in the works as well. So, yeah, once again, if you want to check out the deck I used, it's in the description. It'll be below the list of the rounds that I had, in case you were wondering. So make sure you actually read the whole description. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So see you for whatever I do next.